Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
Dave, welcome to the podcast. It is playoff fantasy football, and we've been talking quite a bit about having a guest on. So I reached out and
excited.
I thought, hey, you know what? We're in the playoffs, and
Okay.
what I really was looking for was partiality. Somebody who's, they can have an objective view of the 8 teams in the playoffs. That they're not one of them.
Kind of outside looking in kind of thing.
Yeah, so I reached out and I got a hold of the Rat Trappers, and I was like, hey, wait, that's you. Oh, I see. I'm sorry, Dave. See, my mistake was I was trying to get somebody
this was
new.
The story of my season.
Oh, and then it ends up it's just actually my co-host
Dave.
Story of
my season, harkening back to years where Kevin sucked.
Yeah.
The Kevin
and there's plenty of them. Here, we got so much to talk about today, Dave. How is it that in one of my worst weeks that I finally jump into third place?
I know that, what a monumental letdown of a final week 13.
You know what?
Or
we'll give. Yeah,
whatever.
14.
What was it?
Week 14.
13, yeah.
Week 14.
Yeah, 13. So
no, you
14,
keep saying the wrong thing.
I know.
Week 14.
So, but nothing happened other than a few seeding things.
We'll talk about a couple things, but honestly, to keep this podcast short and sweet, we'll hit that, and then we'll talk about the playoffs and some other fun things that we're going to. But honestly, we haven't talked, so I don't know. You get to award the team of the week on a very kind of dismal week, but I'm interested to hear what direction you go here.
It pains me to no end to do this.
Yeah.
I get no joy whatsoever to award this, but I think it's well deserved because this person was basically had to win to stay in. And we all wrote him off. I did. I think I might have mentioned it 5 times or more if in my write-up that Mr. Off All Weekend was not going to win. I thought Andy was going to step up to the plate and make, and Junior was going to get kicked out of the playoffs, and he would have had he not won. Brennan was right on his heels.
Yeah, everything set up perfect for Brennan.
Yeah. So, because not only did, Andy put up a 62, but Junior, you scored over 100. It's not like he didn't earn it, but that was when I'm looking through, Brian had a big week. He gets $10 for it, yay. Everybody else, that won that was probably supposed to win,
I'll just, neither one of us want to mention this either, but I'll just, for posterity's sake, so he doesn't think that we're complete just jerks and Adam had to win if he wanted to win the champion. That victory got him $60, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
50?
Yeah. But
so which he was going to the playoffs no matter what. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
but
and
he sealed the league championship.
Rennie put up a 62, so he was going to win no matter what. And he scored 94. He had a bad week, for him. But I guess I could have given him. But
no,
Adam,
I'm not saying that you had to. I agree.
No.
For the stakes, for I don't know. Maybe all those guys. Maybe I have it completely wrong. Maybe all these guys are playing this for money. It's more about pride and winning and.
But there's a little of both because yes, but for Junior it would for Adam he'd lose. Yeah, he would have lost out on $60, but he would have still been in the playoffs and had a chance for second place, first place. Junior. In order to win anything other than actually he already spent the $10 high points that he won. So in order to get anything, he needed to win, and he did. So good job, Junior. I hate saying this because you're a doofus, but
and Junior would have been in no matter what. But on the flip side of that, the Hillbilly Award,
Okay.
it goes to it. I mean, it has to go to Ed because here's the thing: for 13 weeks in a row, even though his team was struggling towards the end, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could see this thing was kind of rocking. It's like all he had to do was switch his running backs.
Yeah, like not even make a decision. Just a guy that was out.
Play
all
the guy
week.
that's available, and don't play the guy that's
granted,
not available.
It was a Thursday game, but that's no excuse. You know, new Ed, right? We talked about this the beginning of the season. New Ed keeps track of his lineup. New Ed makes trades that are really good. New Ed picks people in the draft that are really good.
Yeah.
Then old Ed showed up and blew away the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because that one move would have been the difference between winning and losing in the matchup with you. He's in the playoffs, and is it Rademacher would have been out? I mean, what a drop Ratty would have had.
Oh man, I don't know whether I want to start Mostert this week. I'd rather take a risk that Stevenson might play, even though he's ruled it. No, there was no decision to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, I mean, there's a reason,
right?
There's a reason that he is the, you know, the hillbilly image that we use for Hillbilly of the Week, and we love him, but I wonder because he doesn't watch this and he barely talks in the chat. We'll probably get a text message from him saying, "Oh, good season, guys," and then he'll buy everybody around at the tavern next year. But I wonder if just because I mean I know Ed personally, but I don't talk to him in fantasy world that much. If you just wonder at the end of a season if somebody's going to come back. Like if he'd just be I'm too busy, I don't want to do it, or if he loved it and so you just never know.
I didn't think that at the beginning of the year. I thought, man, he picked some good people in the draft. He was invested. He was doing good. He had a good trade, and then he just added himself the rest of the season.
Well, and it's funny, and this isn't a plug for the show.
It's almost like Danny was back.
Yes, but this isn't a plug for the show per se. But if every Thursday morning on somebody's drive into work or they're over their morning coffee or whatever they did, if they just watched this podcast, they would if Ed just kept up with the chat, or if he just watched the show, he would know oh, there's a game Thursday, or there's 3 games because it's Thanksgiving, or playoffs are coming up. I'm right on the verge.
I'm pretty sure we even mentioned that Stevenson had already been ruled out because you said, maybe he'll make a change. He probably will. I'm not going to call him.
Yeah, I said. I mean, earlier in the season, I mean, I helped Ed a little bit, but I just felt like that as we got closer, and there were teams like Josh's or like Junior, it's not fair. It's I'll let Ed coach his own team and let him do that. But
I think it was a week ago or so when Andy was said he saw him and he's like, "Hey, congratulations!" On what?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. Yep.
Never mind. He's just living his best hillbilly life. So so that was.
But I played Ed a couple I don't know, remember when I played Ed 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was pretty close. And then I ended up, and he texted me in the next morning or the middle of the night or something. He was like, "Oh man, that was close. I almost had you," or something like it. I was like, I didn't even know you were paying attention. So anyway, I mean, honestly, not much to talk about from that week. You know what I mean?
You didn't put up a fight to Travis.
Great. Yeah. I mean, Travis bounced back. You talked about it. That was really the thing that I thought was going to hurt me, which was quarterback, ended up not hurting me.
Yeah.
Brown got targeted 5 times, didn't catch a single pass. Just my wide receivers really let me down. Chase never, I don't know if you saw it earlier in that game. He had one in the end zone that 50% of the time he probably pulls down, back shoulder throw that he just dropped. And it was
that wouldn't have
made the difference either.
27 points.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was just so I mean, I went back and forth between playing Tucker and playing Moody, and just decided to go with San Francisco because I thought that Baltimore against the Rams maybe would score more touchdowns. It ended up being completely opposite. So that's the problem with kickers. You know what I mean? You just never know. But obviously those 10 points or 8 points or whatever it was would have been nice, but that's not the difference in that. So it's like, you know, Travis goes into the playoffs like feeling pretty good about himself. Junior goes into the playoffs feeling pretty good about himself. He's been playing so well lately. I think that the drop for Andy is an anomaly. I think that he'll be fine, but Brian is so Jekyll and Hyde. You know what I mean? Like when we were doing the side bet,
2 weeks in a row,
Brian, I
120 above 120. That's pretty good.
But 3 weeks ago, I bet him to score high because I thought that he would in the side bet, and then he didn't. So, but man, we'll get into this in a second, but like, I really feel like that just the way that the whole thing broke down, if I was Adam and I win the league and then I would have got stuck playing Brian, and that'd been a tough draw.
Yeah.
You'd much rather play Josh, who almost dropped out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but
Brennan did he won out 3 in a row, finished 97. You know, he did everything he could do, but
finished with the same record that everybody, other teams did.
He wasn't writing he wasn't in control of his own destiny. All he could do was win out. At that point, it was too late to score enough points. So too bad. I think he would have definitely have more momentum going into the playoffs than Josh and Ed for sure. Well, Ed's not in.
Well, hey, the funny thing is, so if you look at the league poll that I put up, so number one, 8 people of our 12 voted on it.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know we had 8 people in chat.
Yeah,
so that's
that knew how to vote.
Yeah. And
we gotta check the voter ID. I think
we do. Yeah, it was like we got some mail-in ballots that came back wonky. But that 2 people, and it could be tongue-in-cheek stuff, but like 2 people picked Josh to win the championship. So one of them was Brennan, and I think one of them maybe was Josh himself.
Himself.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh, but I did not pick you.
So that, crazier things have happened though. Somebody limp in, and then just all of a sudden,
you only have to get hot for 3 weeks. So.
And he's got 2 guys on his team that we know can go nuclear. Their team's been trending in the wrong direction, but that Miami wants to right the ship, and they're playing for a playoff spot. So anything could happen. But we wanted to do a little revisionist history, kind of talk about the 8 teams that made the playoffs and maybe take a look and say, hey, is there one player on their team that really kind of just solidified their season and is really maybe the reason that they had the success that they did? And I think I have that right. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Kind of like, what position, was the difference that helped them make the playoffs? And some of these are tough, but because it's a long season, you can't play. But I did the best I could, and I think you looked at it too.
So we'll start from the very, very top. Okay. Adams in first place. And the interesting thing is that, it's funny how this is kind of foreshadowing to like where we are here with the playoffs, because if I looked at Adams' team and I just looked at the wins that he had and everything, I would say that one of the reasons for the success that Adam had, and if you just look at his season as a whole, consistency is the thing for Adam, right? Yeah. He wasn't high points. Yeah. Okay. But he was never low points. He was always consistent. He was always there. He was always right on the verge of scoring 100 or more points. And he ended up like towards the end of the season, even getting, kind of catching Travis with like points scored just because he was really doing well. I would say the biggest reason for that is Justin Herbert. I just think that Herbert was so consistent throughout the season. And then it's really interesting that now he's on IR and he's not available. But when I looked at Adams' team top to bottom, I just felt like that Herbert's consistency throughout the season was one of the things that anchored his team. So I don't know what you felt, but
so I had the same struggles with Adam with looking at, because he only had one. I think he had one spot that was like the top of their position, and that was Kelsey, who he didn't have the whole season. So I was going to rule him out. I went with, and I should have gone back and looked how many times he started Miami defense, but they had 7 weeks with 10+ points.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I thought too, because he really did well in the defense, tight end, kicker spots. Like, you know what I mean? He got really good points from those places.
I almost went with Aubrey, but I looked, he really didn't have him.
Yeah, and I would say if you lump those things as a whole and just took those 3 positions where a lot of teams tend to struggle, or those are the places where it's like he definitely, I would say both of those things are true.
If I changed it a little and said what got him to win, he winning these last couple weeks, and Aubrey scoring like 20 and 15 or something, the kid's kicker. So I went. His was a little tough, so I went with Miami defense. And I probably should have looked to see how many of those 7 weeks that they scored 10 he actually started them, but I assume a few of them.
Yeah.
So
moving on. Next we have Travis, and for me this was an easy win.
Yeah,
it's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he stayed healthy the whole season and he averaged 20 points. I didn't get 20 points a lot of weeks from both my running backs combined.
So I saw a funny stat today, because he also has Mahomes on his team. But the interesting thing, somebody said that the quarterback from Washington has more fantasy points than Mahomes does this season. Yeah. Now, we don't have the same scoring that all the other leagues have and everything, but that stat still stands true.
Most of us that have picked McCaffrey in the past lost part of the season, at least a few games. And he every week, but his bye week, I'm sure, he was started, and you lock him in for 15 to 20. That's a big advantage. So I think that, you're not going to, he had other reasons why he ended up coming in second, a lot of other players, but I don't think with just McCaffrey and having a bunch of if some of his other people did bad, he still would have made the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I looked back at some of his really high scoring weeks, and it's McCaffrey 28, it's McCaffrey 34, it's, you know what I mean? He led the way. So even though he had great production from lots of players, it was always McCaffrey out in front, setting, you know what I mean, kind of getting him off to just amazing starts. So I will be the first to admit, this team that's in third place came out of nowhere. The Smithereens, I had no idea that I would end up in third, especially on a loss, but that's the way it kind of ended up. And I would also say that it's hard to pinpoint one person, because I probably had more lineup turnover than any team that's in the playoffs, maybe. So, but I'll let you go first, and you tell me what you came up with.
Let me click on him here. It was tough, because you had a lot of people, you've mixed and matched some, you had some injuries, but I think I went with ETN. He finished finished the regular, for our purposes, the season, the real season's not over, but for the regular fantasy season, he finished as number 3. And if you don't look at anything else, look at weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8, where he went 32, 20, 19.7, and 22.9. That's 4 straight weeks. That got you right there. Those 4 weeks. It was
the turnaround of my season when I went from being 1 and 2 to then rattling off 4 straight wins, and he was really the catalyst for that.
Was it those 4? I don't remember if it was those. If you won those 4 weeks, he was the big reason why.
Well, and I'll say this: I saw something the other day, because you and I had kind of talked about redraft in the first round, and the reason I had texted you that was only because one of the Instagram channels that I follow, the Fantasy Football Fellas, they just did a video where they redrafted the first round.
Okay.
And Chase and ETN were both in their first round top 12, and I just found it interesting that 2 guys that kind of had up and down seasons a little bit. Chase started out really slow, but for me, never being high points, kind of being middle upper of the pack, all season long, to have the 2 guys that I picked first and second round both be considered first rounders. So that's why I agree with you. For ETN, I picked him in the second round. He ended up with first round kind of numbers. That's what probably
those 4 week, that 4 week stretch is probably as good as any running back.
And it did, I mean, honorable mention probably goes to Tyrone Williams, who wasn't on my roster the entire time, but like he definitely was a spark plug that I needed when.
I feel like by the time you inserted him, you were already in the playoffs.
Yeah. So it was like week 3 because if you go back and look that I started Dalvin Cook week 1.
But then he missed some time and came back, right? Yeah. So it wasn't like you had him the whole time. Yeah.
No, but when he went out, Taylor came in. So that was what made that.
That's true.
Yeah. So
moving on.
All right. So moving on to what just happened there? Sorry.
Andy?
Yeah. So I'll let you. I don't know why that just happened.
I'll go. I mean, this one's for me is kind of obvious. I'm going Jalen Hurts. He finished, or he's at number 2 running back or quarterback. When you picked him in the 3rd round, if you pick a quarterback early, he better be top 5, and he was. He had 12 rushing touchdowns. That very consistent, always hovering around the 20s or more. I feel like Andy makes the playoffs, with Hurts like as being a big reason.
Yeah, I'll give an honorable mention, and now he's fallen off, but Kenneth Walker III, he ends up only being the 23rd running back. But if you look at weeks 2 through 7, when Andy kind of really solidified himself as like a top 4 team in our league, it was Hurts, yes, but also Walker doing, really kind of, we know having a running back that's going to score 17, 27, 13, 14, 11, like that's consistency that, you know what I mean? So many of our teams that we've looked at this season have had running backs that have scored 2, 3, 4, you know what I mean? It's like, it's been pathetic. Some of the guys that we expected to play well. So I think that Andy having Hurts, but then also having early in the season, the consistency of Walker really helped him out.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
But
Next.
Hurts gives that explosion. I mean, you know what I mean? Like when he was on, he was all the way on.
And just those, the rushing touchdowns is just, it's almost 1 a week. And it's like an extra, that's an extra 6 points that you didn't, you don't always account for.
I think we should, for this one, we're at Rennie. I think we should really probably call Junior and ask him what he thinks the reason that Rennie is in the playoffs is. Like what player that Rennie might have on his team that might be able to catapult Rennie into the playoffs.
I went a different direction.
Well, I mean, when you have the number 1 quarterback in the league, that's where I went, but I'll let you talk about yours.
So I went, that would have been, but I went Mike Evans because he picked him in the 7th round. And he's number 5.
Yeah.
I think maybe some people got scared off because Baker was his quarterback, but if you can get, and he had 8 weeks of 10+ points. 8, that's for a 7th round wide receiver. You want to get that out of your number 2 wide, like your early wide receivers, but 7th round he's at the number 5.
I mean, if you would have picked Mike Evans in the 1st round, you'd have been happy probably
with finishing. Being number 5 right now. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so with Josh Allen, but I think having Mike Evans with him, Rennie was going to make the playoffs with those 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there's just some numbers though that, I mean, he's got 2 weeks where he scored 44 plus. He's got 7 weeks where he scored 29 or more points. Like that's just from a guy that didn't get that kind of production from their quarterback. I sure would have liked it. So, I mean, and the funny thing is like Rennie was really up there at 3-4, and he had that long winning streak. I mean, he'll tell you all about it. It got snapped this week, but that was something else. I cannot believe that Junior got to 6th, and I can't wait to hear you explain to me how Junior went from being probably the 11th best team in our league to the 6th best team in our league. So, what player did that for him?
So when you're starting to get down this low with the bottom part here, a single week win is a big, is the difference between winning and not winning the playoffs. So I ended up going with a guy that he really didn't even have available most of the season.
Yeah.
And when he wasn't even always on. But I went with Eckler because Junior won weeks 9, 10, and 14, and Eckler scored 19, 17, and 16 those weeks. And like he needed him when he needed him, and he scored good. He missed a lot of time, so he wasn't like Junior only he got 5 wins, and he was a big reason for 3 of those wins.
Yeah, I mean,
and they were late in the season, like.
Week 1, he scores 22, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. And then he misses 5 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
That week 6 against Dallas is and then week 7 against Kansas City, tough weeks, you know what I mean, to have in your lineup.
And week 14 was as big a win of any week for Junior, because that's what, and he scores, 16 points. That's not, it's not life-changing points, but it's anything 15 and above out of any position outside of quarterback.
And I would say something that helped right that ship for Junior when Eckler was out was that when there was a turning point there for Burrow before he got season-ending injury, where his calf started feeling better and he was the Joe Burrow.
He was putting up some good
it helped
numbers.
me for Chase. It helped everybody. It helped Adam because Mixon started running the ball better. Like everything that got better. And I would say that,
Junior loses this past week and he's in the bottom 4, and Burrow becomes the reason he didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've got Brian, who catapulted himself back up into 7th place after being in the bottom 4 for quite a while this season.
Yeah.
I have, there's a couple guys on his team, but points has never been really Brian's problem. It's been kind of who he's played or just the circumstances. But who do you think has been the biggest reason for Brian's turnaround?
I just went with, the 2 biggest wins are the last 2 weeks that got him into the playoffs. And Debo scored 31 and 27. Yep. So you can't look too much farther than Debo to figure out why Brian made the playoffs.
Don't I know it, because I would have liked for some of those points to come my way. When Debo was out, and obviously that hurt Brian, but when Debo was out, Ayuk's numbers were insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and
it wasn't that San Francisco wasn't scoring. It was just that, when Debo's on the field, the funny thing is, San Francisco's offense is good enough for McCaffrey and one other person to go off, but not maybe spread it across 3 or 4 guys.
You'll get Kittle have a big week. You'll get. I benefited. I lost week 12, but if I wouldn't have, Purdy would have been the reason why I made it, because he had a pretty good run this last, and that goes hand in hand with Debo. So Brian. And Debo had some other big weeks, but
really after the Bengals loss, I think that was like a turning point for San Francisco. They probably like a look in the mirror thing, and they've really turned their season around, especially offensive production since the Cincinnati loss. They had a bye week right after that, and then from then on, like you said, Debo, Purdy, even Ayuk has been fine. But he had put up some monster numbers before that. So, all right, we've
last place.
Last place, Josh Rademacher, and the funny thing is, Josh lived most of his season kind of safe and secure up there at 5-6.
Only because there were a lot of teams that were
really bad,
sucking, because he never won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
And he had 2 losses, 2 losses between just about, I think, every win. So for me, I went with, what win was the difference for him. And unfortunately, it was week 11 when he beat me 106 to 101. And so I'm going to the Cowboys, who scored 23 that week and got him a win. They ended up as the number 1 defense, but he didn't start him. He started San Francisco a lot of weeks. And
well, wouldn't you say, because I think I remember, and I'd have to go back and look, there was a week where having both of these really good defenses hurt Josh a couple times.
Yeah, because I looked on the bench. I'm like, I kept looking at Josh's week after week, and he kept starting San Francisco, and But there was a week that the Cowboys scored negative. That probably,
But I mean, if you gave me 49ers or Cowboys, I mean, if I wouldn't have had both,
yeah,
I'm starting them every week, right? Like there would have been no options for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
because like if you look, week 11, I mean, that was his last win, sandwiched amongst a ton of losses. So that win right there kept me or Ed or whoever from, not me. I only got 4 wins, but it kept Brennan for sure, or Ed, because he would have had 4 wins. And
well, but just like you said, like if that defense doesn't score and you had another win,
that's true. I would have been there because I had more points than the other 2. So yeah, so that was a huge week. That's what got him in the playoffs, and 23 from his defense.
And here's the funny thing about Josh. All season long, I mean, I can just remember being on here with you talking about this, and well, I have faith in Josh because he's got Tua and Hill. I've got faith in. If he didn't make the playoffs, the number one thing that I would point to would be the inconsistency and the letdowns that Tua and Hill have had. I mean, there were so many weeks where it was like, maybe Tua had 16. And Hill
was pretty good.
Yeah.
But Tua, outside of when he threw it to Hill, didn't have those 40-point weeks like that Josh Allen had.
Well, but honestly, and here I'll pull it up just really quick. Hill, like you said, really good. It's hard to argue with it, but it gets offset sometimes when you got 33, 21, 24, 20, 27. And then you got some 6s and some 4s and some 7s mixed in there where, you're going to have that with any player, but those are weeks you lose if you're Josh.
Yeah.
When you only get 6 points from Hill instead of 30, you know what I mean? Like it's feast or famine, you know what I mean? Sometimes with these guys.
Yeah.
And he had way more feast with Hill than he did, but Tua really was not as explosive as you would have thought. Quarterback 11. There was a point in time when I was like, I could have had Tua instead of taking whatever his name is that I took from Jacksonville. But then like at the end of the season, he probably, I'd have to look. He probably ended up ranked higher. You know what I mean? Where are we at here? Trevor Lawrence is number 13. So he was close. I mean, like it wasn't as big a divide as I thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So we'll go, the last 4 is different. The last 4 is what was it that kept them from making the playoffs? And let's start at the bottom for fun.
Okay.
So we'll go with Lee, and I mean, I feel like, you hate to blame, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Because he started off so strong, and Lee only needed another win, and right, pretty much 1 or 2 more wins, and he had a couple weeks there where, Jefferson probably would have scored the difference.
Well, let's go back to the tavern. He's got the very first pick, right?
Yeah.
And I've got the second. And I had told everybody, hey, I picked the second because I can't lose. I said, I'm getting an LSU wide receiver no matter what Lee does. If he goes Jefferson, I'm going to go and I'm going to take Jamar Chase. And if he goes somewhere else, then I'll take Jefferson because I love Jefferson. But Lee said something. He said, I really have been thinking about doing something crazy. He said, I was thinking about taking Tyreek Hill, but he didn't. He went with what he thought was like the safe play, and he took Jefferson.
Even if he takes Hill, he gets probably a couple wins because he had some close matches that would have been the difference.
If he would have taken Jamar Chase, if he would have taken Hill, if he would have taken McCaffrey, anybody but Jefferson, you know what I mean? Because I really thought, if I'm being honest, like with Lee, because I just didn't think that Lee seems like the kind of guy that everybody tells you Justin Jefferson's the overall number 1 pick. Lee's like, I'm going to do my own thing. I really didn't think he would take Jefferson. And that probably really ended up being the downfall of his season.
If you would have told me that it only took 5 wins to make the playoffs and that you're going to start off 3-0, I would say you're making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he only got one more win the rest of the season. And
Yeah.
Jefferson went down week 5. There you go.
If you knew it only took 5 wins to make the playoffs, it probably changes the way you draft though too. You probably take a really high scoring quarterback early and just be like, man, I'm going to try to get as many like guaranteed points as possible. And it's just funny how that all works.
Moving on, we'll go to me, and I went with my 5th round pick of Dameon Pierce, the Houston running back, because I could have picked Kamara, Pachenko, Aaron Jones, Breece Hall, Cook from Buffalo. Any of those guys would have had better seasons than what Dameon Pierce had. So I had plenty of weeks where that wouldn't have mattered. I had a lot of downfalls.
Who was your first round pick?
Bijan Robinson, who I
number 8 overall. Yeah, that's not a.
What did he fit? What's he at? What
8,
number?
8.
I mean,
you can't complain too much about that. Not when you got guys that didn't play half the season.
And it wasn't. I don't think it was mostly him. It was he wasn't used a lot of weeks. So I mean, I don't think he was the reason. He had some big weeks for me.
Here's the only thing I would ask you, Dave, and you're the only one that can know this because I think that you feel like looking back at that pick, which I don't even doubt it, but do you have any qualms about picking a first round guy that's on a team like Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, there's
just because you knew that they were going to have to run the ball a ton because they got.
Well, I thought they would because they didn't have a dynamic quarterback. He got a young. I mean, Ritter's not
right.
Nobody thinks he's an elite arm talent, but so I thought that they would really utilize him running, catching, and when they did, he was great. But they just didn't enough.
And we've seen that play out before. There's been mediocre or bad Detroit teams that have had great running backs. There's been other teams that have done that, but
no, I don't think first round. I don't like that. Didn't lose me the playoffs. I mean, not having another running back out of all the ones
and I would say
picked.
that just I remember talking with you quite a bit. You never quite got any production out of your third wide receiver either, right? Like
it was
usually
Gabe they
Davis,
were on my bench,
and then it was like it was like picking the wrong guy or having just
And I only had I had definitely a couple weeks where I made the wrong choice, and that all I needed, and I would have got the win, and I didn't realize that one win would have made a big difference.
Now, Brennan spent a whole lot of his time at the very bottom, and then he started to surge towards the end. So, what do you see as the downfall in Brennan's season?
I think the early on not having an answer for not having Chubb.
Yeah,
because I mean I hate you hate to say injuries, but for that, if he ekes out one more win one of those weeks with Chubb getting 15 to 20, I think that obviously he makes the playoffs, So I mean that's just he goes down early, and it took him a lot of weeks to kind of build a team.
Man, you would just think that looking at this and seeing how good Dallas has been and how good Dak has been, that he would have got one more win. You know what I mean?
I know.
But
so I think Chubb would have given him a week where he got a few more points.
If I would have given him Nakua and Ingram and got earlier, he probably would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
A couple weeks earlier, and things probably changed for him.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of jump started his season by taking that dead weight Mark Andrews off his hands.
Yep.
My goodness.
So we got one more team left.
Yeah.
And this one actually went a totally different direction. And I'd say the only reason that this person didn't make the playoffs was themselves.
Yeah. Yes.
Because he had the players.
There's two things. I mean, even though he finished 5-9, I think that we both believe that he probably could have finished with 7 or 8 wins if he would have done any work to get in any kind of quarterback.
Yeah. Like he had a ton of faith on one big week. I get that. Some guy has a big week, you pick him up, you try him. But when it doesn't work, week after week after week.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, how
and
many
he
weeks in
had,
a row do you got to watch Levis just score 5 or 6 or
yeah,
8
and
points and be
he
like,
had other weeks where I would have probably, it's his team, he can do whatever he wants, but most people probably would have switched out a few people. Obviously, week 13, he would have, switched out somebody that wasn't starting. He still has the number one waiver spot. Like it's like going, it's like ending the game with a timeout. Like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, yeah.
he could have used that at any point. Not that there were always a game changer on the waiver wires, but at least give it a shot. It's like you're floundering here, and he just kept, he had the team. He made some bad choices. He made a lack of attention, and so he should have made the playoffs, but he didn't.
Yeah. So here we got our playoff bracket.
Yeah, I really haven't had a chance to look at any of this yet. So
yeah, number 1 seeded Red Kingdom versus Call Me Ratty. And if I'm going to be honest, this is what a 1 seed should get you.
Yeah, no doubt.
It should get you a spiraling team that was on the brink of falling out of the playoffs versus what sometimes it's happened, and you've talked about it a lot of times. Adam could have found himself just with like a point differential or a win here, that like he could have found himself playing a Brian who like catapulted himself, or even a Brennan who maybe would have ended up,
because he catches. I mean, Josh, for all his downward spiral, now he's got, right when you need him the most, Tua and Hill are facing the Jets, who's been stopping about everybody.
Yeah. Now, fantasy is a crazy thing, and anything can happen now that we're in the playoffs. I mean, I will admit, I think, don't tell Adam I said this, okay? I think that probably winning the regular season is a better fantasy accomplishment than winning like the title, the championship, just because like any team can get hot or injuries can happen. Like sustaining competitiveness over 14 weeks. Congratulations, Adam, on doing that. But now we're in this 3-week tournament. Anything can happen. So all bets are off. Josh could pull up an upset. He does have, they are playing the Jets, but he does have Tua and Hill. Yeah. And so anything can happen.
I don't know that Adam's probably super thrilled that, he's doesn't have Herbert.
Well, he's got to play Murray. And
Murray's been fine, but San Francisco's a decent.
He's playing against San Francisco Giants or San Francisco 49ers,
which means he's going to have to some garbage points at the end, probably.
Let me ask you this.
For sure.
Will Adam play Murray against the 49ers? There's quarterbacks.
Or pick somebody up.
Yeah.
I think he does. Because, I mean, I think Murray's floor is high. It's like at least 15, and I don't think he's going to need, more than 90 points to beat Ratty unless Ratty does something really special.
Yeah. Well, so he's already projected over 100. I mean, that's just a typical Adam thing to do. So, all right. So the 2 spot is Heim Time versus Flex and
tough. Man, yeah.
I mean, this one's a pick'em. I mean, Travis has proven himself, that he's going to be a tough out. But I mean, if any team has the firepower to be able to stay with Travis, it's Brian, because Lamar Jackson could drop 40.
Yeah, he can keep up with Mahomes for sure. He's actually projected higher, which it's pretty rare for Mahomes to be projected lower than anybody he's going up against fantasy wise. But I mean, but I think he CeeDee Lamb's been good, Eagles, Brown's been good. Debo's obviously been good.
Yeah, and this is a crazy thing. Like in 1 week sample, any one player can just get hot, and that totally changed things. So, all right, now you've got me versus Junior. I mean,
are you gonna try to beat off while doing a podcast? Or are you just gonna drink beer?
I plead the fifth. it's hard. Hey, I'm not real good at multitasking.
Okay, yeah, that's
And the more I drink, the longer it takes. You know what I'm saying?
so. Who would have thought that first round matchup playoffs was going to be Jordan Love versus Browning?
Well, and here's the crazy thing, like just the way that it happens, I'm playing Junior for the third time.
Yeah.
He won the first one and I won the second one, and this is the rubber match. So Junior and I are very familiar with each other. And I will say that out of all the different teams that I could have faced in the playoffs, Andy, Rennie, Brian, I'll take my chances with Junior.
There you go.
So
he's loving this. He's just
yeah,
loving the chance.
Anything could happen. Junior could outscore those other teams. I'm just saying that point differential or somebody getting a point here or there, like a win. I could have played Andy.
Any thought of going off Browning, or just gonna keep riding the hot hand and root for your Bengals?
Here's the issue that I'm at. Trevor Lawrence is playing against Baltimore.
Okay.
And the Bengals were playing against Minnesota.
Who just shut out a team.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's tough.
Granted, that team was what, New England or Oakland, but
yeah.
I mean, no, I did. I mean, he's kind of proven that he can do it.
Yeah. Well,
and Jordan Love's not coming off the greatest of weeks.
It's kind of an all or nothing thing. For Chase to do well, Browning has to do well. If I want to play Baltimore's defense, I don't want to play Lawrence. I really don't want to play ETN, but it's like I got all these things working against me just because of the matchups. And so
how in the world did Junior end up with 4 running backs projected to score 12 or like close to 12 or more?
Something that could really just flip this for me, not that I would even put him in the starting lineup, is that if Taylor could just play in the game. You know what I mean? He's doubtful again. He's probably not going to play, but if he could just play, that would make the biggest difference.
And it doesn't help that they play Saturday, so
yeah,
that's one less day. So yeah, he ain't playing. So this should be a pretty good one.
No, I would. It'll be an interesting one. I'm just looking here to see if Junior has any. Neither one of us right now in our starting lineup have any Monday night players. So
okay,
yeah.
So it's going to be over by
at least Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
Jacksonville and Baltimore, which you both have people going, so that'll be good. So it could be ETN versus Beckham. That could be interesting, and a defense and a kicker. Oh, you've got a lot going on. Never mind.
So
you better have a lead.
Here's the one that I wanted no part of, really. I mean, so avoiding both of these teams while you never know how the points are going to end up.
Yeah, I think I'd rather take my chances with Jordan Love than Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, Hurts or Allen could outscore my entire team. So, and that's just the way it is. So, but I would have to give the edge to. I feel like I got to give the edge to Andy because Allen's going against Dallas, and I just don't see that going well for Josh Allen.
Or it's a 40-30 game or something.
Yeah. Yeah, you just never know, but man.
Yeah. But the running backs, I mean, Barkley and a Kane or whatever, and Walker and Jacobs, those are, they all can do good. Receivers kind of hit or miss there. Like lately,
I would give Rennie the edge at wide receiver just because I think that
better quarterback for Detroit.
Yes, Andy's right.
Adams is a better receiver, but Brown's got a better quarterback, and he's been proving it. And Evans, we already talked about him. Pittman's been
both defenses are playing against bad teams, so
so that you always fear for a couple defensive touchdowns that are going against you. So yeah, this will be a good one too. So
yeah.
Well, then
it'll
the other
it'll
four
be
of us are
fun.
just trying to get some high points.
Yeah, get some high points, and we'll see. I mean, here's the truth. Like, this whole thing could go sideways, and then we could never record another podcast again because I get so mad. Between the Warriors, Draymond's indefinite suspension, the potential of this being the last week of fantasy, I might just like go off on a Christmas break. And
I don't know. I've never recorded and uploaded, so I don't even know how to do it.
No, yeah. Yeah. You're trying to figure out how you would go on without me?
I don't know how I would. Yeah, I think we would.
It's like what would happen, like if you have like a relative that, keeps everything like locked in, if they pass away and you just be like, I don't even know how to like access it. That's what would happen.
So if you're getting, like, you have, the Monday nights going on or Sunday night games are going on, and if you're getting beat, are you just gonna like swing around and slug Junior in the face just like Draymond?
I mean, if Junior wanted to meet me down at B-Dubs, and I'd be like, oh, let's go get some wings, and then I just like kind of do a pirouette and just kind of like catch him. Yeah, I mean, it could happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing that I'm looking forward to more than anything is probably what we did last year, which is the after a season BW3s party.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So we'll have to find either a playoff game or a Monday night game before the whole season's over, and
maybe a trip next door to Bunkers to hit a few.
Yeah. What is Bunkers?
It's right next to B-Dubs, that indoor virtual golf thing.
Oh, if we're doing indoor golf, we're going to Andy's.
Oh. Well, they got 4 bays, so you get.
You would think that Andy, being the new guy, would want to be hospitable and just be like, hey guys, how about if I just fry some chicken?
Is his pool open? Is it heated?
we hit some golf balls on my simulator. We watched some football on a Monday night. Like, I mean, Andy could do that.
Yeah.
I think he owes us.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so. So, well, I hope that over the next 2 weeks, everybody is able to enjoy their Christmas, get some time off. I don't know if people tan that much over the next 2 weeks, but hopefully Rennie's able to.
They CrossFit.
Yeah. Pull himself away.
They carry boats.
Yeah. Well, Andy's carrying boats. I don't know if Rennie is.
He didn't this week.
No, he did not.
He dropped it.
Yeah.
You dumb boat dropper, Andy.
Oh. Do you feel like a little hole in your soul from being completely done?
I mean, the draft of the tavern can't come fast enough. Start this whole process over again.
I mean, hey, if you want to practice, you and I can go out to the tavern anytime you want. You just tell me.
I can eat some chicken and think about it. Just like a practice. Like, I can bring my notebook of who I want, and I can
we'll just pretend.
Go through the motions.
I'd be like, Dave, who you want to pick? I just throw out numbers to you. Dave, you got pick number 97 right now. Who you taking?
Yeah, Mike Evans. That's why.
So.
Oh man.
Oh, hey, this week, Minnesota. This would Saturday morning or 1:00 football. This would be a huge game for the Bengals to win. Don't you agree?
Yeah. You got Bengals going on. You got this team playing the number 1 team the
Arizona, right?
Yeah. So that'll be it's a pretty big Saturday.
I've given up on basketball. Freaking Bearcats can't beat Xavier at Xavier. The only thing would have made me happy is if somebody would have just punched one of the Xavier guys. And then
I know somebody that would. His name's Draymond.
If I could get Draymond on the Bearcats and we could do a replay of the Crosstown shootout, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh. You got a guy like Steph Curry on your team just wasting greatness.
Yeah.
It's like, don't get me started, Dave. I have to go get it to the refrigerator and get another beer.
There you go. All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. All right. Hey, good luck to all the playoff teams. If your name is Ed and you're watching this,
you blew it.
So close, brother. 14 weeks. You just need to hold it together for 14 weeks.
Yeah.
Watch this show for more tips and tricks on how to finish a fantasy football season. All right, guys. Good luck. Unless your name is Junior, Kevin is a loser. That's what I'm seeing on that bag. I'm just going to try to prove everybody wrong.
But in the past.
It's
All
been
right.
true in the
We'll
past.
see you.
All right. See you guys.